right though, because DarkZero's still going to have their work cut out for them. Getting the defensive start is definitely going to be a sigh of relief, as they'll probably be able to control the game pace a little bit more. But on the attack, they're going to have to be careful, in my opinion, of the roam game for TSM. I talked about it in the pregame how I personally believe this has got to be one of the more comfortable maps for quite a few of the players on TSM. And as a result of that, that means there's going to be plenty of comfortability when it comes to roaming around, taking risks, things like that. And if that's going to ring true, if they're going to be able to find impact on that, it's a massive issue that DarkZero will have to deal with when they get into the second half here. As remember, this is TSM's map pick. They're very confident in their capability to win this out, and we'll just have to see if that'll be the case. Ash and Ying get banned out again here as those two make a reappearance. Clash is going to be our first defender banned by TSM.
All right, Ash, Ying, and Clash off the board. TSM pulling out the Ying and Clash. That's going to be a follow-up from the previous map as well in the case of the Ying. So just trying to slow down DarkZero and, you know, limit that playbook and that potential. So Wamai going to follow suit as well, and that's going to be, well, for the most part, at least across the last couple of days for the series that we have commentated, this is going to be, well, last map was the only map where he was not banned. So, or not banned, excuse me. So, he's coming in once again here, going to get banned out, makes things just a little bit easier. And this is exactly what we expected coming into this map for these two. Wamai being, you know, a highlight player when it comes to Villa and Cafe. So expect him, if we do end up getting to that next map, to be removed as well. So first round here for DarkZero, they will be starting on defense, TSM on offense. Just remember that, guys, because the colors are switched here. DarkZero headed to AVG.
Take a look and see what the setup will look like here in a second here from DarkZero. Operator lineups not too far-fetched from what we tend to see on a normal AVG defense. You've got the Melusi there to slow down the overall pace of the attack and stop more aggressive swings in a few key positions, like the study door, where you've just seen Eclipse put down the first piece of utility. Goyo also going to be a big piece of the puzzle here, as we'll see quite a bit from him in terms of delay capability due to those 3 Goyo shields. Away from that as well, also Skies on the smoke there, bringing the deployable. No Wamai being brought in. I don't believe Wamai was banned, correct?
Wamai was indeed banned.
Yeah. Oh, he was banned. Okay, so never mind. So obviously we're not seeing him for that reason. I just misremembered the defensive bans. My bad. So that means they're going to have to look for another option to do this top main stairs setup, and it will be looking like Mint and Skies playing that one more than likely. Hyper probably having a piece of the action there too, if the need should arise.
Most teams, when Wamai comes off the board, they start to fill it in with a lot more shields or other bulletproof material. That's why a lot of talk amongst, you know, the top competitive, you know, commentators, everybody else, players, everything have been talking about bulletproof utility in, you know, the recent months. It's a utility that has a high impact in what the offense is able to do, and it still rings true here. You're going to ban Wamai away simply because of the burn, but they can still, you know, supplement other things to fill that gap, and that's where Goyo and that Melusi are going to come into play. Now you have explosive shields that, you know, limit your rushing potential since you can't push through that fire, and that's down for 10 seconds, as well as those Banshees. So lots of annoying stuff for TSM to go through. Just getting rid of that Wamai makes things a little bit easier on both of these teams.
Bit of a different position here for the stairs hold, as we're actually going to have Mint down on the first level of the stairs behind a Goyo shield. Now this is going to get dangerous for the reasons that should be obvious in a moment here. Flash is being dumped in here. He knows he's in trouble, and he's going to start to back away, but no actual damage taken. Just going to crawl his way up those stairs here as he waits. See if there'll be any additional action from his opponents. He's thinking about going back, but that would not be a wise move considering that the Goyo shield is about to blow, as it should have just gone down right there.
Very calculated start here for TSM, taking their time, making sure all this utility lands and hits its mark. Already getting rid of the Goyo shield on main stairs, as well as forcing DarkZero back into sight. So they now have top main control and plenty of time to handle this situation. I mean, they can work steady as well as long haul for quite some time here into 90. DarkZero doesn't even really have any pressure over here as well, and that's really a portion of the map they need to hold on to with this offense coming into play. As long as TSM is on this south take, they need to try and assist by supporting those long angles, especially from that north side.
Got Achieve still trying to make some work of the first floor here, opening up all these rotate angles and trying to hopefully catch any members of DarkZero that may still be lurking down below here. Not to be the case, though. They'll find it all to be clear, as DarkZero's entire defensive setup is focused on the site, and only the site at this point in the round. I think we might have one player branched out over towards top red, but that's about it. Regards to the extended game. Away from that, we've got them moving in, and nobody's watching the aviator door. It should have been Eclipse, but he's a little bit late. as he only comes in for the trade here after Merc finds a free opener, or at least appearing a free opener against Hyper there. Down to a 4v4 here now, making a 4v3 as Skies has found the next pick against Chala.
Well, with only 18 seconds remaining, TSM, it's do or die for you, but DarkZero have multiple angles to hold. Bolo now spearheading his way into sight as he takes down Mint, still holding the cross, has to contest one, but takes down one with a trade. Double kill for him on the round, still looking for more, looking for blood now, but it's up to him and Achieved as Achieved holds the cross. He's going to be on Overwatch. Can he win the initial gunfight? He can, and he follows it up with a double as well. TSM back to form up against DarkZero.
TSM definitely keeping us nervous, though, with the way that they play these rounds, coming down very much to the wire, very much the emphasis on the attacking side here of the 20-second meta, not really able to lift a finger on that actual site until we get down to that pivotal time point, where we finally see players like Bolo committing to the inside successfully in order to get that plant just on the edge. Never able to even deal really with the aviation defense despite the one free pick they got, so had to deal with it on the retake attempt as they were stuck in both the back site and the gun vault there.
Some beautiful stuff there from TSM, constantly applying pressure. They handled main stairs extremely well. DarkZero respecting it, and I respect that. I think that they really didn't have a horse in that race in order to contest main stairs, especially with the pressure TSM also had on Study. So with that being said, DarkZero back all the way up, try to play into their crosses by holding 90, but really what was, the straw that broke the camel's back was the simple fact that Merc got to just walk into Study. Well, not simply walk into Study, but walk into Plains, gets a free frag onto DarkZero. They start refragging, but that's already, a man down inside of those crossfires that DarkZero needed to desperately hold. They didn't have very many, off-site areas to hold. They were really only dedicated to the top of red as well as 90, so they weren't stretched too thin. It was simply just that big impact frag coming through for TSM, and they were able to snowball it through down to that 2v2.
Well, Kitchen's next up on the plate here for DarkZero, and they'll still have that extended play going on in the early round. A bit of a different direction, though, as obviously the site's on the first floor, so the roam game is going to be up on the second, and to some degree the first as well. Houghton will hold that extended play on the inside of the living room, fending off any of the aggressive takes towards Astro and potentially the back front door into library, or even, of course, the mudroom pushes as well. He's responsible for a lot, but as are the upstairs players. They're going to have to fend off what is currently a 3 or 4 man push, or at least a 3 or 4 man intel grab towards the inside of the second floor, just above the site. Will it be successful or not? Well, we're going to find out very, very soon, as Merc has started to move his way in. And like we've been talking about, there was initially a roam game here from DarkZero, but it seems to have all but pulled back. You've got Mint on red. I believe Hyper is over there on Astro stairs, but he's about to be droned out. So the overall capability for DarkZero to try and throw aggression at TSM right now is looking relatively minimum. A good start, though, will be found from them regardless, as Eclipse gets a great nitro cell up above onto Merc to take him out.
Nice pre-place there by Eclipse. They still have one as well on Hot and Cold, and quite the setup downstairs for this horizontal setup. So have a rotation through Bicycle, as well as a lot of long distance, gunfights available to them for these crossfires from living rooms. So DarkZero, beautiful stuff so far. TSM down Merc, but have a lot of verticality done. But now the verticality is actually falling into the hands of DarkZero and working quite well. Eclipse takes down Bolo from below. TSM down to the 3 versus 5. Still plenty of time for them to do things, though, as well as they have a lot of soft destruction to get through most of this. It's going to be down to Achieve to handle most of that, but they're still patiently waiting. Right now, though, Chala inside of Laundry looking for a kill, but he's being contested by Skies inside of Kitchen. He's got a shield to assist him as well, and that could be some major problems for TSM. A lot of very hard to contest gunfights, but it's going to be Eclipse who gets aggressive with the M590. TSM can't hold the crosses, but Geo finally fires back, takes down Eclipse. DarkZero still in the lead 4-2.
40 seconds remain here now. TSM once again is going to be working both against the clock and the man count, as it would appear here now, in order to try to get into the site. This one looking a lot less appealing than the previous round here, but still needed to try and find some way to work it. Achieved. Still trying to play with top-down angles, and there's reason to believe he might just stay here too if Geo is going to be able to find a route into the site on his own. That's not really happening, though. Geo knows he's got a player to his left. He's looking for a counter reaction from his opponent to see if they'll also take up an angle on the right, but it's just not happening. Smokes out the primary site, but is not going to use it. He's going to try to hop in instead over here. separate window, but it will not pay out at all. They in fact expected that to happen. And we'll get into the appropriate position to shut down not just that flank, but also the hop down here. Great reads from DZ, great control over the situation. TSM not even able to get close on that one.
What a great hold from DarkZero overall. I really, really like that setup. They play it aggressively. It's very well done, the amount of crossfires they have there to support each other's angles, and TSM could not fight through that. They had the verticality to try and get some pressure onto the site players, but DarkZero were able to fight fire with fire, as we saw, get those big picks, especially from that Nitro cell that takes down Merc, and that was the big pick that they really, really needed. Even though they still have Buck there, Sledge is usually the one that's dedicated to breaking up most of that flooring. So with Sledge now off the board, Achieved has to rotate upstairs, and there has to be this whole thing of, hey, who's going to do this job? We need to get this done. We have to apply pressure. We need to, get this problem solved. So TSM goes to problem solving, and then things start to fall to pieces as DarkZero gets more and more picks. As long as they stay at that max man count as well, you're still going to have to deal with the exact same amount of pressure across that entire site. Still have to deal with all of those crossfires, and it just gets more and more difficult as TSM begin to falter.
So an initial success for DarkZero is going to send them back upstairs here now on round number 3. They'll go over here towards the trophy and statuary defense. Things are going to look relatively similar to what we saw back on round number 1. A lot of utility deployment going out across the map here in general to slow down the take from TSM, not necessarily stop it entirely. That'll be on the players, of course, to do that. As far as the overall site setup is concerned, much like the previous rounds, nothing too crazy going on here. Triple reinforcement on the primary site wall. Usual rotate into Astro, and away from that, there's usually not much else to set up when you're on the defense, besides gadgets, of course. So that'll be all we see. And away from that, it's even going to be very site-focused once again here from DarkZero. Eclipse is on that basement roam downstairs, which could become a factor in the mid to late round. But aside from that, everyone else is focused on the site for the most part.
Looking like the regular cast of home improvement. That's basically what the defense does on Rainbow Six, just breaking down walls, creating new things, and trying to make some magic happen. DarkZero, for the most part, though, have been struggling in that department. It seems that the luster's gone, and it's definitely lacking, but they finally find that last round, and it was a strong one at that. So looking to DarkZero to try and snowball this into a lead here, especially on Villa, and how this map tends to lead to that defense. So TSM now out on the field and a minute down already. So you already know these drones have been spinning and trying to find some intel, and we're about to get down to the nitty gritty. Bolo's already worked his way up inside of bathroom with the rest of TSM on his coattails, but Sky's going to dip back down astronomy stairs. DarkZero wants to hold on to this and try and delay as much time as possible. We have Mint up here with a Goyo shield as well, rocking that vector. TSM very slow to the upswing here, so we're already halfway through.
Minute and a half remaining. DarkZero still remaining very patient with their current positions, and for TSM, still waiting for the right opportunity to begin working their way through. Houghton can be able to get into the way of this initial attempt to open up the breach over on the other side by Master. Same thing will be done again on the second attempt. It's not going to be successful, though, but the good news for Hot and Cold is that the silo was thrown so low that's really only going to act as a crawl hole, if even that, for TSM to work off of here. So no direct access is going to be given at this point here for the attackers, but they still at least have a tiny route in if the worst should happen. Once again, though, just like the previous 2 rounds, this is not a very promising start for TSM, as although they've managed to take the extremities of the site, they're not really that much closer to attacking the site itself. This is all going to be on the swing, more than likely, that decides whether this round will work for them or not. Also, that Malusi, played by Eclipse, still hasn't been dealt with as we're coming down to the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, lots of problems right now, and not very many explosives to be able to handle this. Still have EMPs on deck for Chala, as well as Bolo in hand with some impacts as well, but as John was saying, it's all on this door swing and how this goes, but it's actually achieved to start us off from down low. That buck works out well. Sky's going to drop and start to contest, and it's going to work out twice. Hammer in hand, doesn't even matter. Sky's wants that for himself as well, and an SMG-11 to go. Geometrics, you complete the combo chicken meal, my friend. DarkZero walking away with round 3 off the back of some fantastic work from Skies.
The hatch drop M590 hero play from Skies right there. He knew his opponents were pretty much braced and probably trained on singular angles, and that's probably the last thing you expect in that situation is a shotgun to come barreling down the hatch trying to wrap on those players. Great read again from the DarkZero side of things, capitalizing on what was going to be an explosive execute at any moment. That's been the strategy for the most part for TSM for the previous 3 rounds, and finally they've read into it and abused it.
I'm going to need a freeze frame on Merc with the hammer in the hand at the bottom of Astronomy Stairs. That's fantastic. And just, you guys probably wonder how I got here. Let me tell you, it's all when we started to clear the bottom floor, and we did not account for skies to drop down a hatch. And, well, now we're running into some problems. And yeah, that was basically it. It was a last-ditch effort to try and force their way into Astronomy, and DarkZero just had the upper hand. TSM was playing checkers, DarkZero was playing chess, and they made the play at the proper time. That was simply it. DarkZero did a very good time, or a very good job of delaying time, getting TSM so down on that timer to where they had to try and force their way in there. DarkZero just counters it beautifully. So we're going to head back, or actually, no, we're not. We're actually going down to living room. So this should be fun for DZ. Actually, no, I wrote that down wrong. So the second round was kitchen. Yes, this is going to be living room for the very first time. And this is going to be the full, like, site square. It's not a triangle anymore, John. It's a square. We got 4 sites that we went to for DZ.
That doesn't work. That's too many.
We'll pick it up with DarkZero. I don't know what to tell you.
Either way here for DarkZero, indeed. Going to the 4th and final site, choosing not to go back up to Aviator in games when you consider the fact that that was probably the most convincing win we had from TSM. Even though it was relatively close, they had great control in the post plant there, something that DarkZero didn't really have the capability to work back against so easily. Despite the closeness of the round, though, they're not feeling their own capability to win it. They're going to keep going all the way around the circle of sites that are available here, and we'll end up still with some Aviator control needing to be made, specifically over towards the gun vault here for our defenders, as they do need the angle down onto those 2 soft walls right below. There's a couple other ones that'll be presented to Eclipse, who's currently playing on the inside of that room. Now, TSM are very well aware of this position. It's one of the hallmarks of this site defense, so they are working on getting 90 control, as well as general upstairs control, so they can attempt to flush those players out or kill them.
Well, while we're on geometry, are they obtuse or acute angles? That's what I really need to know, but, well, more than likely I have to lean towards TSM to figure that one out. DarkZero still on that roam game, committed mostly downstairs. Mint and Hyper deep inside of this basement. Drone spinning up now, but Merc going to be droning down Astronomy Stairs here. Don't know exactly if they're going to get any read on any of these members downstairs, especially with Mint having the backpack here, playing inside of arches. This is an area that TSM can try and maneuver into a position to handle, but the problem is, look at that timer right now. A minute and 30 left on the clock, so this is do or die right now for TSM. They have to decide if they want to hit the sites or if they want to try and go for this roam clear, and this is going to be really, really dire for them. It looks as though they want to try and hit the site from the south side, apply some pressure to this reading door, or this, excuse me, this library door, as Merc finds his way in. He goes right over the barbed wire with that vertical hop, but he doesn't win the gunfight, walks right back into the barb, but Geo's there, almost catches 2, but it's an immediate refrag as Houghton contests main stairs. Hyper's there along with him, rest of TSM trying to pressure through traditional means, but it's all for naught as Bolo's put in the dirt by Hyper, Chala, and Achieved, all the only 2 that remain.
Yeah, this quick retake from the main stairs has caused massive problems for TSM. Now, they've left themselves a little bit more room on the timer to be able to work this. We're not done with the round on that just as of yet, but it's not much. Only 35 seconds remain here. They're going to try and swing over towards that front area where the diffuser is positioned, but doesn't seem like they're very well aware of what's going on. No drone intel really to play off of here either. They had a couple presets, but that is it. And so will the round end as well. Hyper with the final kill here for DarkZero as they take control of yet another one here. The defensive side starting to look better and better. Team that is clinging on at an 0-1 deficit.
And along with that, since DarkZero went through the site square instead of the site triangle, right? You know, keep track of your shapes here. That means that they really have, you know, more options than they necessarily would have had originally if they didn't want to play living room. Like, obviously, that's an extremely obvious thing, but now for the offense, they have to guess to where DarkZero is going to go, and that can change up a lot inside of, you know, not only operator lineups, but your main game plan walking into things before prep phase. A lot of the times you start talking about the round and what you guys want to do, but when you can't exactly predict what's going to go on, it's very difficult to try and find the exact operator lineup that you want to apply to that kind of situation. So you mostly go for more of a Swiss Army knife type of setup. So we'll see how TSM does with that. They are going to 6-pick away from the buck on Achieved, which is something I thought I would never say in my entire life. But they are going to be bringing the Capitao instead, and he's got that secondary hard breach.
So it's not going to be missing much in that department. Still with Geo on the ace also too here. So they still have their primary hard breach, but Achieve will be able to assist out if there's a secondary or tertiary wall that they need to try and open up for themselves. The ace either ran out of Selma charges to do it with, or it would just be considered a waste to do it with the Selmas. Setup overall, once again, is not going to look too crazy over here on Aviator Games. A lot of the same notes that were hit back on round number 1 with the usual reinforcements on the 90 wall in sight. We've got the rotates through the center wall. We actually are going to have the half wall strategy be used on the study wall too that goes over towards gun vault, but that's not too far-fetched from what we've been seeing either.
No, not at all. DarkZero going to be bringing the Mira into the lineup as well, but this one's pretty self-explanatory. We've seen this time and time again now, but it's been more of a recent adaptation that a lot of teams have put into the lineup for AVG. Slap that bad boy down to watch Vault Door, and then try and get a Nitro Cell in there to stop that plant. We'll have to see how TSM are going to work their way around that one, but going back to that operator lineup that we saw TSM change some things up on, Achieve bringing that Capitao, that's going to be a big game changer here for them, simply because Wamai's off the board. Capitao is now one of the most potent operators in the game if played correctly, mainly because all of his arrows are going to land true. You're always going to get your damage off no matter if you hit your mark or whatever, so there's nothing to grab them out of the air. This is all going to be practically free. They're going to attempt to pressure up here, but they're already going to use a firebolt. Doesn't do too much. I'm assuming that they thought someone was sitting behind the shield and they wanted to try and get him to move, but that was definitely not the case.
Really awkward shuffle there from Min as he had to go back, ended up running into his teammate, and then just decided to say, screw it, I'm going back down. Now holding the position on the second stairs. They're going to throw another EMP out. That scares them back once again because they are worried about a frag going towards that Goyo shield. Doesn't end up happening at this point. They're really psyching him out on that, which is actually working out pretty well for TSM's aggressive tendencies right now because it gives them free real estate over control of the main stairs. At least that first half of it there. They can get up to the second level without having to worry about any resistance from Min. It works out so well, in fact, that Min and his teammate just decide to give it up entirely again. They'll back up and play into the depths of the site.
Some smart stuff by both of these squads right now. DarkZero contesting on that deployable shield, but TSM handling it from beneath with some soft destruction. So it's the battle of wits right now as TSM is slowly backing DarkZero up, but it's a strong stand at this point. Still looking very stoic. DarkZero, very patient here. Multiple angles, very creative as well through the floorboards, but there's a lot of stuff that TSM, and especially Merc right now, needs to worry about. Banshee surrounding him. They're trying to get rid of this ace utility. It's going to be pinged by Hyper, but he can only get rid of one of them. That's going to deal with Mira as well. They go for the impacts, but I don't believe that they get the second one, if I heard that correctly. So now TSM has a really, really strong angle into sight.
Break's going to be a little awkward as the Mira window will still be there, but its effectiveness has gone into the negative regions now because you've got to reveal your legs just to use that thing. EMP goes over the Banshee now, possibly allowing for a swing to come in. They are still a little bit nervous of somebody holding the extremities of the wall here and potentially trying to swing from that. Now we're going to see attackers picking up kills left and right. It's another one of these final last-second executes, but they've got a lot more work to do. However, they are doing it. It's down to a 4v2 here now. Where's the plant attempt? We haven't seen that happen just as yet. It's mass chaos right now as Mint picks up so many kills from the inside of the bar and single-handedly stops the play, allowing DarkZero to pick up the round.
Looking like Rambo fighting through that one. That was, the man was fighting World War III right there. Stabs a man, sprints out a bar, and then fries the guy with a case on the way out the door. That was some incredible stuff there from DarkZero. I don't even know what else to say about that. That was just a highlight play in and of itself. TSM had every right to win that round, and DarkZero just stripped it right from their hands. DarkZero up 4-1 right now on Villa. Now, we know this is a defensive-sided map, but DarkZero, for the most part on these defenses, have made it look very, very easy. This is once again where TSM go to low timer, try to go for that execute, and they run into problems.
It's too much the same too often, it would seem, from TSM here, as DarkZero has latched on from not just the first round, of course, where TSM won it, but the follow-up rounds where TSM tried similar strategies, as Stokes was mentioning. It's become too repetitive, and now DarkZero knew exactly what to expect when they didn't have a lot of on-site aggression approaching that 20-second margin. Yes, it's still very chaotic, and the initial frags are very, very one-sided towards TSM, but if just one player remains elusive enough and can find an impactful enough kill, as we saw in that situation, they can still win out the round in low time, especially because those situations are so chaotic in the comms. I don't even want to have to guess what those look like in those types of fights. So DarkZero able to control the madness, control the chaos, and take a 4th round here. They've only got 1 left in this half, but already are in very, very good control of it, regardless of the outcome.
In case you were wondering, it's usually just a lot of screaming. That's usually what it is, and a lot of people saying dead. It's like, gun vault dead, bar dead, like, plant the dang diffuser. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the most part. Everyone's just yelling at each other to do stuff. And then there's one guy that just yells more than everybody else, and that's usually the guy that they call your IGL. No, good stuff from both of these teams. But no, as you said, that is a main thing to be concerned about inside of those moments is, you know, comms getting cluttered, especially when you have multiple gunfights all going on at the same time and someone's calling, you know, multiple positions and everything else. It's very difficult to get the, you know, the full grasp of what's going on inside of those situations. And that's more than likely where the problem ran into for TSM. When they finally got the intel on what was going on with Mint, it was already too late. He'd already knifed someone, and when the knife went through, he's like, he's on bar, dead, and he kills the guy with the case and he sprints out the door. You don't have time, and that's the main problem there for them once again. So it really is just the comm clutter overall.
Already well into this next round here. Got Chala on the roam, clear a nice spot onto that Valkyrie camera, and he seems to have good intel from that other drone you can just see at the edge of the screen. That Hyper's also holding the Astro Stairs, and he's holding it in quite the aggressive fashion here. Hot and Cold shows up with some assistance from below, as he is able to Nitro Cell out Bolo, eliminating him from this round. And also giving DarkZero the initial advantage to play off of here. Skies trying to play. That fight's going to be a bit too long range to find success on the shotgun, however. So he'll get taken out by Chala as the exchange is met, although he definitely did some damage, not just to Chala, but to Merc as well there.
Very unfortunate there for Skies, assuming that he was predicting someone to throw some utility at him after they used that EMP so he could just catch him off guard, but that was definitely not the case as he swings right into a firing squad. Rest of TSM now, though, with the verticality, getting rid of these mute jammers, and Achieve doing some good work with the IQ. This is something that we haven't seen them bring into the lineup just yet, but this is going to be the first time for TSM overall inside of this series. We've seen IQ pop up here and there throughout this entire tournament for multiple teams, but she's not nearly as good as she once was, mainly because of that utility meta that we're in. So IQ being brought out now, strong with those breaching charges, and can get rid of a lot of this utility through the floorboards, and that's what they're going to be utilizing. Great pressure here from Chala as he picks up Houghton inside of Pantry. Now TSM have a foothold, but we're back down to the timer. 20 seconds remain here for TSM.
At low time again, we're going to force the aggression out from TSM to try and get their way in. They've got a man advantage built up this time in order to play that, and also important here, Eclipse is nearly out of shotgun ammo, limiting him to the SMG-11. There we go. Final shot's been made as he does catch the player trying to move in from Laundra. I think that's Chala, so that'll bring him down very, very low. No, he's fighting in a different spot. It's Merc, in fact. Do we see the plant go down? No, we do not, as Hyper gets the snipe off onto the planter, who was Geo, at the very last second. So it's a 5-1 half. And a dominant one it is indeed for DarkZero to take control of the opening half here. And now they only need 2 more rounds to close it out on the attack.
This has changed up a lot of things here for TSM. Just to bring you guys back to the bans here, you got to remember Ashe has been banned out, and obviously that's more of a spot ban towards Merc than it is anything, but Ashe inside of this current meta is one of the most influential operators inside of the game with what utility she has at her disposal. And the fact that TSM was not able to clear a lot of this utility through vertical means meant that a lot of the times DZ were allowed to exist in areas which they wouldn't have access to usually. Those breaching rounds extremely effective, especially on this site. When you guys look at the shield setups here, if they slap a couple down, a lot of these are usually handled with Z-pings and then someone with those breaching rounds down low. So that change up, as well as just the playstyle change up overall for TSM not having Merc on that Ashe, could be some of the reasons as to why we saw things go so poorly for them on offense. But now they're on defense. This is their map pick. They best know how to play defense up against DZ. They know it's going to be more of a, slow build up throughout throughout the round, but it's going to be clinical. They know what they're up against. They played through that consulate map. I'm looking to see TSM link some rounds together here.
All right, well, setup here for TSM is not looking too crazy. They do actually do the initial reinforcement onto the left side wall there, back on the extremity of bar. Normally, that's where the rotate from main stair is allowed to move, but it seems they've saved the second panel for that instead. So just a slight adjustment there to the normal game plan. Away from that, it may become a possibility that we see the main stair side become a bit irrelevant anyway, but actually never mind on that. I thought we were seeing DZ try to go for a pretty heavy takeover towards Master, but that's not looking like the case as we now take another look at things and we see the usual suspects working their way over towards the study, back in the front door, where still we've got a lot of resistance coming in from our attackers here and from our defenders as well.
I would just like to say this before we get too deep here. Thank God we are back on land, because Rainbow Six has been slightly boring without it. I mean, it is so nice to have stuff like this back. Aggressive plays early on, nice picks, great gunplay, great mechanical skill, amazing strats. We're back in business, baby. Sky's looking for a long distance frag grenade, but it's almost like he deals more damage to himself than he does to T'Challa. But I can tell you right now, we have not had anything like the series that we've had on land, specifically this land, on our online series so far inside of North America. It's so nice to be back, seeing these players contest on land where they have that beautiful hit reg and everything else in between. Skies and the rest of DarkZero now, though, halfway through this round, dealing some damage onto site. That early pick onto Merc going to be quite influential, but now it's up to DarkZero, and specifically Hyper, trying to force up Bookshelf.
Little under half the round remaining for DarkZero to make their impact. They're off to a good start, so no reason to rush things just as of yet. They've got the advantage built up. They've got some good map control. Not great map control, however, so they still need to try and garner a couple positions here that they don't fully gather for themselves. They haven't fully gathered for themselves, I should say, earlier on in the round here. TSM is equally looking to deny these positions if they can at all stop it. The most prevalent one being Study, where they're still trying to hold a pretty strong control, mainly over here towards the main stairs. But it seems even that's been peeled back. Taking, again, another look at things. Oh no, Achieved, where are you going? Sky's right up on the side balcony here. Catches Achieved, just going for a jog outside there. And yet another kill goes into the hands of DarkZero. We could see a third in a moment here, too. T'Challa taking some heavy hits, and he's now at sub 25.
Apparently he was looking for a run in those Nike free runs. I don't necessarily know what was going on there, but more hell breaks loose across the map as Mint picks up one, but Bolo immediately refrags on a swing at a 90 window. Still worried about someone hopping inside of his Wolf, but doesn't have to worry about too much anymore. Gio's the only one on site. Bolo still picking up the odds and ends off site, though. Contesting red stairs, takes down Mint, and now it's on to timer for DarkZero. Only 10 seconds remain here as they need to force themselves into sight. Case currently on hot and cold. Hyper inside of Planes and Games as well. They try to force their way in. The ult is not powerful enough, though. 1v1, they have the nitro cell, but they don't know where he is. Bolo trying to contest. He sets the nitro off, but the flames are getting to Hyper. Is he going to get through it? He does. He's got 1 HP. This is doable, but he ends up getting down by Bolo. He fights his way through, but does he know Hyper's been down? He pre-fires anyways. That was such a scary situation, as Hyper being the only operator playing Zofia that can res themselves. Things could have got real kooky right there.
What a smart play from Bolo, though, in the 1vx scenario. Doesn't know exactly where we're going down or where we're going to see the diffuser go down. So he ends up throwing his nitro cell at the Goyo shield sitting directly above him, as he had a good idea where that was positioned, blows it up, triggers the Goyo shield, and it just barely spreads over to his opponent. It's a little bit too late to actually stop the frag from happening, and more importantly, stop the plant from happening, but it does line up a massive amount of damage onto that opponent, allowing for Bolo to go in and finish out the duel with a single shot. Very well played indeed, and a very nice clutch given the way that that round was going up until that point.
Yeah, that was not going their way at all. I mean, DarkZero were really fighting through everything that TSM threw at them, especially with some of the runouts and things like that. You and I both commenting on Achieve being outside in what seemed to be kind of a misinformed play. It seemed as though he wanted to put some pressure onto the 90 window, but was definitely not allowed to exist nearly long enough to actually get into a gunfight. But DZ with the early leads once again and just not able to capitalize on that. And it really seems as though Bolo has been the bane of their existence. I obviously know it's always, when does Bolo play? But right now it really is him that's standing in between DarkZero and this map win.
We'll have to see if he's going to be able to keep up that pacing for a while, as there's still a pretty large deficit between TSM and their opponents here in DZ. Well, we'll be 6 picking out from that Maestro, and instead we'll bring the Pulse into the table, so he'll be crawling through the depths of the basement probably for a large majority of this round. Because we're going into dining room and kitchen, though, he will have to be a little bit more active with his play. He'll also be able to help out in the site, of course, getting intel on the second floor clear. And we'll see Pulse probably be the most useful on this site throughout this entire map.
We got a lot of things going on with this kitchen setup, my friend. We got Vigil, Pulse, Goyo, so many things going on here. I want to see where they set up these Goyo shields especially. I'm assuming that they're more than likely going to be set upstairs so they can abuse explosives to make those things go off in very dynamic fashions, but we'll have to see. Overall, though, really like what we're bringing to the table, especially Merc back on this Vigil, simply because not only is it a comfort pick for him, but Vigil also getting that recent slight nerf to how his ERC-7 backpack works makes him even more potent. So putting that on someone like Merc, who has that mechanical ability and just is overall such a strong player in Rainbow Six, can definitely make the difference inside of winning or losing a gunfight for him. So TSM now finishing little odds and ends here on their defense. DarkZero let out the gates and onto the field. Some early intel gathering for TSM as Merc starts on the south side of the building and backs off, and it looks as though DarkZero really want to go for that study clear.
DarkZero will be able to achieve it relatively quickly here as they move in for themselves, but we're also going to see some master balcony action coming out from them, as you would generally expect to see on this roam clear here. Mint's going to have to work the drone a bit before he gets the confidence to move in, because the only one here defending it is Geo, and he's playing a much more precarious position there on the other side of the reinforcement. You can see that there's a Banshee to assist him as well. So knocking out Geo is not going to be the easiest thing in the world. I haven't even mentioned the support from Merc that comes in the other side too. Selma thrown in initially gets interrupted. This would explain the fallback from Geo as well, as unfortunately his position is going to be exposed here in just a second, as those Selmas will go off without too much of an issue. This will also call for Geo to fall back completely, as they don't want to stack 2 on the inside of Astro. They just want to leave Merc here to solo defense and focus on the site defense away from that. Merc's going to have a lot of pressure coming his way, though, so might not be too long before we see him having to fall back, mainly out of necessity, but no! Just as he's dropping down the hatch, Skies is going to be able to grab his head, take it off, and give DarkZero the advantage.
Well, with plenty of time left on the board, DarkZero can just take their time. There's not too much for them to really worry about. They have to worry about the verticality, but Chala's going to botch some shots. Skies continues to exist upstairs, but has to worry about a lot of explosives in sight. And now the problem is they practically have the laser painter that is Bolo. He'll mark all these targets, make sure that these nitro cells have a very good chance of hitting those marks, getting these kills, and making it much more difficult for DarkZero to try and work their way into sight. But DarkZero with a great roam clear onto Merc, now have that full top pressure. This vertical play looking very strong right now. Not able to get any picks, but it's mostly because TSM have rotated off of site, achieved all the way over an art studio right now trying to contest outside, and it's mostly patience as to see how DarkZero want to eventually execute this.
Geo here still waiting for players to try and inch over towards his position, and Cotton looking for the right to initiate here from the breach that he's been able to make on the inside of Laundry's. Crawled all the way up to the chassis basically here and hasn't seen any resistance, so it might be a bit tempting to try and hop in given the fact that we're coming down to the wire here. Mint's gonna see that explosion. It's gonna bring cold as ice on it though. Still holding the corner in hopes that someone will try to swing it and won't check his corner. He might be right to do that. Oh, this is getting so awkward for Mint here right now. He's just missed the note on his opponent on the other side. Diffuser did go down in the meantime here, but it was a flurry of kills for TSM as well, including that most recent one for Achieve. Counter Diffuse is already in the process. The problem for them, though, is they got these top-down angles, but it's not over the bomb. They might actually just get this off entirely, and there you go. TSM will take control as they're able to disable the Diffuser because the post plants upstairs didn't have the angle set up to counter it.
Oh no, it's exactly like the tweet we saw yesterday from Bacon. It's the little things that are slowing down DarkZero. That's something that they usually don't mess up on, right? When that case starts going down, they usually have the intel on it. They'll set up the vertical play, but the kills came very quickly for TSM, practically a flood for them. And that really hinders that success and the mindset there for DarkZero. They immediately, all hands on deck, have to worry about rotations from Astronomy as well as Red Stairs. And TSM overall can just bully their way through. And that's not even really what they had to do. They simply just sat on the diffuser and waited out that 7-second timer. As long as the guy on the case doesn't die, everything should be fine, and pros don't fake. That's exactly what happens for TSM. They make sure to hold that F key just long enough and claim that last round and make sure that DarkZero can't get to map point.
Very unfortunate turn of events there for DarkZero, just unable to set up, as Stokes was saying, those little things that they needed in order to make sure that the plant was a success. But that's what's going to happen, unfortunately, when you're constantly executing in this meta, because you're so stressed for time. Oftentimes mistakes like that are going to be made, mainly because the player putting that diffuser down in that situation probably didn't have a choice, had to try and get that thing on the ground regardless if it was going to be a good spot for post plants or not. So here we go, the setup once again being made now by TSM as they'll shift upstairs over into trophy and statuary. Still a defensive setup going downstairs, specifically in the kitchen, as they will set up a little bit of capability for roamers to play into these rooms and try and delay the clears from DZ.
Well, DarkZero now out onto the field. We're changing things up as well across the board. Jackal coming into play for Eclipse, as well as Mint picking up the Amaru. So quite a few options here for them now, but specifically on this site, Amaru not going to be the most effective operator. She is going to have stuns for some burn, but when it comes to actually applying her to these situations, there's only a handful of windows that she can really fly through. But the other good news is that she can reposition very, very quickly on these balconies because of that Gara hook. So we'll have to see how DarkZero want to handle this, but this could possibly be a hatch play. There's a bunch of different things that they can possibly do with this. So DZ now working their way into Master. Just going to be utilizing Eclipse for some more intel with those Inox tracks, as well as TSM now impact tricking to try and maintain this wall being sealed. And it's actually going to end up working out as well. Chala, both impacts down, and it seems as though, well, Hot and Cold only expending one Selma, so they're actually in pretty good graces.
Especially for this early on in the round here. TSM still sitting on good footing. DarkZero trying to take it away from them, though. Hyper, in the meantime, moving himself forward here. Gets blocking control. Is trying to carve out a little bit of a path here through the breach that's been made below those reinforced walls. Unfortunately, is not able to line up anything on the other side. Not that you would expect much, given what was going on with the silhouettes. Achieved in the meantime. Throwing out one of his impacts once again to cause problems on trying to open this back up. Might have been a little bit premature with regards to trying to interrupt the hard breach. Now we're going to see smokes and gas grenades correspondingly start to plume out on the site as it, excuse me, it looked like TSM was looking to resist the immediate push from DarkZero, but DarkZero a bit of a fake there, and it does work out, although they have to lose one of their own smokes in the process.
DarkZero still pretty slow on the upswing here, but they've made some progress. Bad thing is that, well, drones, at least for Mint, now gone. They're actually sitting pretty fancy here right now. Among the 1%ers right now with this drone economy. Some frag grenades in onto the defense. Not going to deal much damage, even though it lands on Merc's head, but that helmet seems to be pretty hard. Chala does some damage to Hot and Cold, just enough to kill him, as bullet to the head will do that. DarkZero very slow right now in their execution. This is something that we haven't seen from them. Just worried about these rotations, and they damn well should be. Skies has one in his sights, as actually ends up winning the fight up against Achieved there. Achieved seemed to have some form of knowledge up against him, seemingly clairvoyant in that case, but did not end up working out for him. Still the rest of TSM on site, though, locking things down, specifically Chala giving him the business with this Alda. Can he do it 3 times in a row? He can't. Finally shut down, but it's the Eclipse that needs to grab this case control and start planting. Oh no, Skies with the force, and he's able to get it as well on the sledge. DarkZero clean up shop here on Stat and Trophy.
It's always the individual plays that seem to make the difference within this series, and once again, Skies putting his right foot forward, able to get those last minute frags. Does it again for DarkZero, and on a very important round as well. We talked about how it was such a dominant opening half from DarkZero, and that still rings true in the scoreline looking at it now. They got 5-1 at the end of round 6, but only just now have been able to put up that 6th round itself. So the next 3 here, they've got the opportunity to close out this map and send us over to Cafe for the final map of the series. But at the same time, TSM has been giving us a very promising defense, so this match may not be over just yet. However, it's still a bit of a marathon that TSM now need to run, and unfortunately for them, they now need to do it in flawless fashion.
And that's going to be the big problem, especially looking forward into these next 3 rounds. This round being dedicated to AVG, which if TSM wins that, more than likely going to Kitchen. The big question is now, though, does TSM have a living room defense? I'm assuming they do. There's probably one inside of the playbook. TSM has plenty of staffing. These guys do not slouch on that at all. But are they going to risk it for the biscuit? Will they put it on the line in order to try and keep themselves inside of this? I'd like to see them try and switch some things up, simply because a lot of that previous round was off the back of the success of their site players. And if we don't have the same impact in the next round, things might not be as consistent as TSM is looking into. But we've seen TSM for most of this day have very high impact on multiple rounds through multiple players. So I guess, you know, either way you can really argue it, but for TSM right now, it is indeed do or die. These next 3 rounds have to be perfect as DarkZero back out on the board.
Timer will start ticking down here, and DarkZero's time to attack will begin to get lower and lower, but this is the site that they should be the most familiar with when it comes to their attacking patterns. We're going to be going back over here towards Aviator. TSM's got a very roam-heavy defense right now. Geo is the only player on site. Other than that, we've got Achieved holding red, Shala and Merc working as a 2-man team to control main stairs, and their 5th Bolo is way over here, over towards Trophy and Statuary. Now, there's a drone from Hyper, but I think that's on the first floor, so probably didn't spot out Bolo. But either way, Bolo did need to fall back after setting something up or possibly going for an early pick over towards the other side of the map. DZ, in the meantime, here trying to set up some soft destruction for themselves. A frag grenade getting thrown up to the top behind bar, I think hoping to catch somebody who might have been posted up there, but not to be the case, as I'm sure you guys can see on the other side.
DarkZero trying to deal with this main stairs setup. So plenty of ADS is set up here for TSM to maintain and hold on. A little bit of a different approach to this. Shield being played closer to main stairs, but Merc still going to back off in very similar to fashion to what we saw DarkZero do on this AVG hold as well. So maybe some early beginnings here for DZ as they're starting to get map pressure. They'll be able to clear out most of this, and a lot of these teams getting much better at this main stairs clear. This is something that teams have been struggling with in recent history. A lot of people favoring that master clear instead, but DarkZero continues to hit this mark, same as TSM on their offense, but now it's up to TSM to try and slow down DZ. Merc working his way into 90 here. Still have plenty of time for TSM, or excuse me, for DarkZero to try and make something happen, as they're looking through the floor right now to see if they can have any possible impact on this round through those vertical means, but it's more of TSM dealing damage than anything.
Mint will learn his lesson on the soft destruction pretty quickly there, as Chala is able to fire some shots right back down through the breach that was just made. We're still going to see pressure from DZ get closer and closer towards the site now, however, as Chala is indeed going to be tested. He sees the hard wall sitting on the extremity of the bar getting broken down here, meaning that his angle is no longer going to be fully secure. They've also got him locked down, so Mint's really trying to chase it down with the skeleton key. They're even peppering the shots through, hoping to connect some damage, but nothing on the Chala. However, still playing Ring Around the Rosie and fragging it out in the process. Takes down Skies, forces back another player, runs out to shut down the Selma and prevent that opening from being made even wider. He's not going to be able to do it on the second time, though, as we do see the swing from Houghton, and Chala, unfortunately, he's out of smoke charges here. However, there is additional assistance that's going to come in from 90. Merc will be able to shut down Houghton as a direct result of that. Eclipse to fall, and Chala finally gets the aggression he needs to swing on Hyper and shut down this round as TSM answer to the match point gain from DarkZero with a flawless defense of their own. They're not giving up just yet.
Some fantastic plays there from TSM, just stopping DarkZero, being the obstacle every step of the way instead of that game plan, and disrupt a lot of that process. Fantastic stuff from them, but again, still a long road ahead of them to go. They end up winning that round, but that only gets them to 4. We need 2 rounds still, and they're headed back to Kitchen. So for the most part, they're following that order that we assumed. This Kitchen defense the last time around was quite potent. They got some really good picks early on, but it was mostly DZ that started us off, and TSM was able to fight back. They got that nice pick up onto Merc upstairs through that study clear, but everything started to falter after TSM was able to win some gunfights.
We're going to see Amaru come back into the fold here, this time for DZ as well. Mint's going to be picking it up for our attackers. trying to change things up. Now, the Amaru potentially working or not working is going to be a bit different on this map, depending on how Mint wants to use it. There's a lot of window access when it was brought out previously on console, as well as a lot of hatches to play through. So there's plenty of opportunities for the Gar hook to be used, even just the very start of the round and not beyond that, because you can get into certain parts of the building relatively for free, as generally speaking, the defenders are just not going to be expecting something like that. It's still a very rare pick for the most part. However, on this map, it's a bit different. There's going to be a bit more of a gamble if Mint decides to hop right in and take map control at the beginning of the round.
5 seconds remaining.
All right, well, let's see if DarkZero can finally shut out Villa. Remember, this is TSM's map pick as well, so seems to be opposite day between these two right now. And just another little fun fact for you guys as well. Our previous map being Consulate, picked from DarkZero, also picked that yesterday, but didn't win it either time. So lots of struggle for DarkZero on their map picks, but seem to be going toe-to-toe with everyone on their map picks. So DarkZero, well within their chances here at least, to try and take Villa and force us onto Cafe. And if we do end up getting there, that's some craziness in and of itself. DarkZero having a super strong Cafe setup and overall game plan going into playing against Oxygen yesterday. I'm expecting more of the same up against TSM, but DarkZero has to win this last round first.
1 minute of the round already used up. We do have a few players getting that upstairs control to start the initial attack. And more importantly, the initial clear of the upstairs hold, as Geo and Merc are still going to be messing around over here in the statuary and trophy rooms. Merc still having the drone immunity there, as you can see from those white lines, able to spot out a couple, but he's eventually going to get spotted himself and nearly isolated right there. You could see the tracers coming in just a couple inches away from where he was positioned, so he has to back up very quickly. Geo still maintains the position on the inside of Astro with Mercs. They're going to continue to play this out, but that whole flurry of drones is still coming in. The good news is that Merc's been able to deny quite a few of them, and even better, Achieve's going to get the opening kill of the round here, but that doesn't mean he gets out of it scot-free. Achieve goes down to sub 25. Bolo's not too far behind either, as Merc is also committed to the inside of Master in another fight. He's expecting to hop in over here towards the walk-in closet, but can't find Merc. However, Eclipse can. Merc just not expecting the level of aggression that we're seeing right now from DarkZero. He presses in from the outside trophy connector and is able to isolate out and finally take care of Merc, who'd been doing a great job of wasting time. The question's going to be is if it was good enough of a job, though, as there's still over a minute to play right now for DZ.
Yeah, this could go either way right now, only hindering on who can get these initial picks. DarkZero has good map control, and they've already established a very strong hold upstairs with these air jabs as well for Eclipse. Z-Ping does some damage to Chala, but he's able to slip away successfully, although he's going to get caught on the back end, and Chala's actually going to end up downing Mint as well on Tarp's door, trying to open up bike door here so that they have some form of audio to assist Chala. But again, this is onto DarkZero to try and change things up. They're no longer concerned with astronomy stairs either, and that's how Achieves worked his way up into Master. This is going to be a huge problem. He knows that two are there. Trigger discipline to the max. He's ready for both of them, but oh no, he gets fried from Skies. Skies with a double kill on two different planes of existence. Hot and cold downstairs inside of Laundry. This push needs to happen now for DarkZero. Skies hops into Laundry. Hot and cold pushing in. Remember, Case must go down. Hotton has to be committed to this. This Banshee's going to continue to go off. The angles for Kitchen. He doesn't have the cross. He can't even find him. And that's going to be the main issue for DarkZero. They cannot contest Kitchen, and TSM bring this one step closer.
Let's break down what was going on there, because DarkZero does a great amount of work, or puts in a great amount of effort, I should say, to clear out that second floor roam game and focus on giving them a maximum amount of time in order to get into the site. The problem that shows up for DarkZero is when they try to eliminate Merc, mainly because he's on the Vigil in that situation. He's able to shred the drone count down, and by the time we get to the actual execute, there's only a single drone left on the DZ roster. I'm pretty sure it was on a dead player, and it had already been placed out onto the field, so they had no intel going into that last second execute, and unfortunately just had to try and play it to the best of their capability in a 2v2. You got to give DZ credit. We're doing a great job of hunting down players with those drones, but just overcommitted on it a little bit to the upstairs clear and didn't have enough to make the play at the end of the round. Also, the timing issue again, unfortunately limiting them there too.
Yeah, there was a lot of things there that were going on for DarkZero. And again, it's not the problem of like they're doing things incorrectly, right? It's the main problem of really that timer. They're just doing things a little later than they tend to usually do. And they're running into that issue where they don't have enough time to work the site in the way that they want to. So for them right now, that should be the main focal point for them to talk about. Let's try and make sure that we're getting some early intel on what's happening with the roam game, or necessarily what's going on inside of this building, so that we can quickly get through the main steps or the early steps and transition into setting up for that execute.
All right. Well, the game has been unpaused.
It should be repaused. Somebody's using the bathroom right now.
Oh.
So yeah, that the timeout was not, hey, we need to take a tactical talkie time. It's a tactical potty break. That's what it would be. So
a little bit of a mishap there, but yeah, we are going to go into a pause here for moments as someone's going to the bathroom. I didn't actually know you could do that mid-game, but apparently they can. So we're going to be waiting a moment here while that player returns, and then when we come back, this match is going to continue. All right, they're back now, so we should be resuming the timer any second. Let's get into it, guys. Round number 12, the final round of regulation between these two teams. Time to see if DarkZero can close it out. They've had the opportunity to do so for the previous 2 rounds at least. TSM has been fighting back quite efficiently, though, and now they only need that one single round to trigger OT and reignite their possibility of a 2-0.
Well, for TSM, it's not the living room defense that I desired. It was back into statuary, which the last time around we saw DZ pick up. That's their only offensive round that they have garnered inside of this so far, and they really had to negotiate for it at that as well. I mean, Chala really putting everyone right in their place when it came down to it. So DarkZero are going to have to bring that into consideration for this attack. Granted, you didn't win the last time, but if Chala or any of these TSM members can have such an impact as they did the previous round here, but in a more dynamic fashion, possibly earlier or something along those lines, this is more than likely going to fall into TSM's favor. DarkZero's attack just not very strong overall on that, and it was mostly just TSM falling over in those initial gunfights over towards that master side. So I have good faith for both of these teams walking into this, especially again with these early engagements. Both of these teams hindering or finding a lot of success inside of these.
Those that missed it achieved, working his way over towards Art Studio, had an angle onto potentially 2 different players from DarkZero, but I think someone does catch the audio cue on that back door getting opened up, so it's a very good thing that Achieve doesn't end up committing to that, because there's a very good chance he might have ended up on the losing end of it. Still maintaining the position, though, so he could cause problems here for Hyper and a few of the other players later on. I can't see exactly where Hyper's drone is. Okay, it is downstairs, so Achieve's position has been realized, meaning that he's going to have to abandon ship pretty quickly here and start working his way back to the site. Actually, no. Looks like he's doubling down even further. There was another drone nearby on the first floor. I don't know if it saw him. The one thing it didn't see is it didn't see him falling back. So the players over here on study side probably still know that he's active.
Well, they're definitely going to have to worry about him. Have the drone set up now, and main issue is that they haven't set up many air jabs. Eclipse only down a single one right now, applying the second one as we speak. So seems as though they're mostly focused on that side. That's a very unfortunate one for Eclipse. Is one of them hits the windowsill. Yep. So that one's going to actually just do nothing. You can't pick them back up. You can't really do anything with them. So Eclipse and all of DarkZero now down. Very important flank watch utility. Skies with the pre-fire onto red, and this has been his map so far. Villa seems to be his home. 16, 3, and 7 at this point.
The drone work from DarkZero, like I said at the beginning of the last, or at the end of the last round, it's been really good. There's been quite a few occasions where DarkZero's been able to pin down a player, catch them in an immobile state, and yellow ping them and nearly kill them, such as Chala on the previous round. Chala had some good reactions, though, so he was able to avoid that in that specific circumstance and actually bring some pretty big impact despite being brought down to low HP. But now he might have to make that impact yet again here. He's currently, I believe, the solo trophy hold for his team. He's got some assistance on that camera to watch his other side, but there's also some other players over there working with him, too. All the pressure comes on to him if we're going to see DarkZero swinging a connector, and a lot of the utility is coming out. DarkZero maybe trying to do this execute about 10 seconds prior to when they've been doing it previously. There's still the roam game to worry about, but they're aware of it. Hyper gets the catch on to Achieve, but Bolo finds the initial response onto the execute. That's Eclipse going down. Chala trying to spam into it, but he's also aware of the connector pressure. No one committing to him, and Bolo still with a strong stance. He takes down Houghton, brings us down to the final 10 seconds. The case is down on the ground. They have to try and push to get it. Finally, Chala's dispatched of on the other end of it, but Bolo's still causing problems in the depths of Master. Another pickup from him will close out the round and send us to OT here as TSM clutch out number 12.
Oh, he's just nasty. There's no other way to put it. This guy lives and breathes excellence. It's actually insane how strong of a player Bolo can be. DarkZero and TSM going into overtime here on Villa. TSM forcing it from the defensive side. 5-1 split in favor of DarkZero, and TSM are able to put it right back on its head. Some very strong stuff from them overall. The main difference inside of that defensive round for them on Statuary that time was that multiple defenders all stepped up and won those gunfights, but it was mostly onto Bolo, as we saw. So Bolo, with that Vector, beautiful 4K, shutting down the case holder multiple times in a row. So, once again, TSM running things through Bolo and finding success. DarkZero going to be on offense here in overtime, and this is where the rubber hits the road, John. This is going to be a huge issue for them. They have now lost every single side that TSM have played. They have to win an OT offensive round in order to win this map and push us into Cafe, and they've already tried to change things up here. We're going to have Mint back on the shields for the very first time in, well, quite some time.
Definitely been something we have seen from DarkZero before, but like you said, it's been a very long time. And more specifically, DarkZero has been favoring the blitz plays more than anything else as of late. If we look back into stage 2 and the results there, we'd seen that coming in quite a bit. I think specifically on clubhouse attacks, it would bring that out every once in a while. Not going to be the case here, though. It's the Montaigne being used to change up the situation, and it might just work when you consider the amount of direct angles that TSM has had against the DZ executes. If they can splinter that, putting a lot of focus onto a target which is essentially bulletproof as long as you're shooting him from the front side, that could be the extra difference they need to at least begin their executes, which just seems to be the area where DarkZero are struggling the most on this attacking side right now, is the start of their executes. If they can get it, if they can get an entry and dispatch of one or two of the pivotal positions from TSM, they seem to have the capability to get the rest of the site. But when they're shut down initially, it's a very, very tough ask to get for the rest of their players to try and work their way in.
Yeah, and with that shield being brought, like you were talking about, the main difference for DarkZero is going to be their ability to force things. And with Monty in play, although, he does have some counters in play here as well with, a lot of denial in place, he's still going to be just an agent of chaos. That's what Monty is. He can simply stand there and exert pressure. There's nothing else to it. So as long as you have a Monty around you, you have to respect him and also worry about anything else that could be possibly going on. He constantly gets to Z-ping you and feed information back to his team. This is something that DarkZero thrive off of, and we've seen them do it time and time again. They are no stranger to this playstyle. Oh no, Monty coming up the staircase, and this is when things can get dangerous. Mint is going to push forward, but he's backing up into the smoke. Mint is going to possibly die here, but Merc actually ends up killing Hyper. Such a very weird instance here for them as they just simply try to force their way up the staircase. Really don't respect the smoke player at all. Mint at this point in time practically useless because of the damage margin. It's like, this is not okay at all for DarkZero.
And he still gets a good amount of damage off onto another player here too. Potten's low. Eclipse is under 50. Mint's at sub 25, as Stokes has already mentioned. We got that air jet there. It's a little scary as Chala almost accidentally shoots his teammate right in the face. But finally, some return damage is made. The pressure at top main stair is going to be a little bit too hot for TSM to maintain. They've already got the +1. They've already got good damage onto multiple players, although, of course, they don't know that yet. They probably have a good idea considering they've taken these gunfights in direct angles. So they're going to call for the top stairs players to fall back and play into the site here now, which is where Mint could potentially have the most impact. Because like I said, he enables more aggressive swings as he's going to have to draw the aim of quite a few players here. He can also get free intel on peak, which has been another problem here for DZ, is their ability to use drones in late round. Even right now, looking at it here, they've only got 2 drones which can actually be controllable because of Mint just getting shot down. Merc will swing on the hatch drop, takes out Mint right there. We did also see an exchange from DarkZero, though, as they finally took care of Chala. So no more smoke charges, but we're down to those final 15 seconds. Where's the play here from DarkZero? And there it is. Hot and Cold works his way in. Is going to get the initial pick. Achieved in Bolo. Respond in kind, though. Hot with the only pressure on the site right now. They need to make it work, but it's just not happening. TSM control the opening round of OT and are now only 1 round away from a repeat grand final at the Major.
Wow, what a round there from TSM, shutting down everything that DarkZero had. that entire plan just out the window, all based off of main stairs. There was really nothing else that they can do. And that's what we were talking about Monty and that health margin there. At that low of HP, if anybody has impact grenades on the defense, as a shield player, you're dead. There's nothing you can do. You can't contest. There's not a single thing, even with Monty, which as a Monty player, if you guys didn't know this, you take less explosive damage because of the shield being in front of you. But the impact can sometimes still get like those impact shards around you and deal that damage. And that's when that low health margin comes into play. And that wasn't even the half of it. John did a great job of highlighting the HP bars for you guys. And we had 3 people all at the same damn time under 30 HP on the offense. You can't take gunfights how you want to. You can't set up and hold, cross angles how you want to. This is a land build. People that swing, people that hold angles, all mostly on the same timing. So if a single bullet gets fired out of that gun and is accurate, meanwhile, by the way, where this is all professional players, you die. So for DarkZero, that all of a sudden became the most difficult situation for them to win, and they still got it down, on timer at least, but ended up getting cleaned up in that 1 versus 3. Just struggling right now on this offense for DZ.
Well, for DZ, they at least will get this 1 round to breathe potentially here. TSM suffers from the same attacking problems that DarkZero had. Only 1 round was claimed in regulation on the attacking side for each team. Either one would need to double their overall attacker rounds won in order to take this in OT. TSM, though, does have the advantage of the 2 defensive rounds, so they don't have to win this one if they don't really want to. Now, that would be great, of course, if they can close it down here. The record doesn't look that great, so DarkZero is absolutely assuming that they can claim this one and try to win it out on the final round. That's very well maybe what it comes down to, but TSM as well, already moving in, quickly clearing out the 2nd floor and lining up their attack onto the kitchen.
Well, DarkZero back on that horizontal hold, as we were talking about. Very difficult for TSM to attack into, as DarkZero could contest every single angle thrown at them the last time, and did a very bang-up job of doing so. So, down to TSM, trying to chop this site up correctly, and that's the big thing. This thing's practically a big pie at the moment. They just have to handle the proper slice at the proper time. Right now, they're working it more like a can opener. Let's pop open this top floor, see if we can get some pressure onto these DarkZero anchors, and if they're able to get an initial pick, that can really highlight what they're going to do throughout this round. Those early picks, especially on a site setup like this, is going to change up a lot of things for DZ. It's going to make it so much more difficult to hold down these sight lines. This is all based off of crossfires.
See Hyper just inching his way back up there, waiting for the eventual action to move in there. Merc's going to take a lot of damage, I assume, from a Nitro. He's brought down to a little over 25 here. About half the round is remaining for TSM to make their attack work and at least start to put the case onto the ground. For DarkZero, though, they've got a lot of off-site presence, which probably isn't going to become immediately apparent to TSM until later on here. Some of that's starting to shift back towards the site, though. Mint down at the bottom of Pantry Stairs is probably one of the more notable additions to the defense here right now. But at the same time, TSM struggling very much in the same way that DarkZero was just in the previous round here. A lot of chip damage going on to the attackers, removing a lot of their capability to swing aggressively, and just no real responses coming out from TSM themselves. Eclipse is going to be able to get the first kill of the round as he finally finishes off Merc and brings it down to a total of 4 for the attackers here. They still control pretty much everything on the first floor, too. Not a lot going well at the moment here for TSM.
Well, finally something to actually show some form of success here inside of this OT round. Bolo stepping up to the plate once again. 13, 4, and 7 right now. 2nd highest frags in the inside of the entire game. Only trailing Skies, who is still alive as well on that signature smoke. 17, 3, and 9 for him, standing outside of China Door. But still has to worry about quite a lot of things, as well as the vertical play here that Achieves opened up. He takes down Skies, but it's an immediate fire back from Hyper as he works his way into Dining. Wrapping around here now, though, case starts for Geo inside of Kitchen. Does Geo know where this, or excuse me, Hyper know where this is as he begins to contest inside of Pantry? It's a swing. They're trying to contest multiple angles, but TSM shut them down, and that's it. DarkZero are going home off of the back of what would seem to be a very paramount moment that just went idly by into the night.
So DarkZero will no longer be able to defend their major title. It is indeed confirmed now that we will have a new major champion.